Good afternoon, people. A very, very good afternoon, in fact. I've had a very tough day yesterday, and today I wasn't really sure whether I wanted to do this, but here I am, and I'm super excited to have one of our silent members, Shanu Prasad. She's been silent for the past 2 years, but she steps in whenever required on the admin group. She is a mother of two, been unschooling for the past 4 years, and has recently started, the IGCSE curriculum learning at home with her children. It's a joy to have her here today as a host,
Thank
and
you,
apart
Sharmila.
from that, she's been a corporate trainer, and she's been right now she's a full-time mother, and she's been into corporate trainings and all. So I think before, instead of me saying too much about her, I'm going to hand it over to her, and she's going to then and invite the Pardiwala family, and we're going to begin. So over to you, Shanu. I'm We have the Pardiwala family also in the studio, so I'm going to add them too. So all the best, and I'm there right here in the background.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. So we have Sonnal Pardiwala, Nozzer Pardiwala, Shahen and Shahan. Hello.
Hi. Hi.
So, so I've known Sonal and her family since 2018 through her group, and she was one of the two mamas who helped us decide and take the plunge and take the route of homeschooling. So I remember when we started, my children were 7 and 3 at the time. And like most parents, I had a lot of weird questions. I just needed someone to just give me the ready answers for them. So I joined the group Active Parenting, and I remember just wanting Sonal to give me all the solutions ready. But what I appreciate now, even more so, is that Sonal is not someone who'll give you the answers you're looking for. She'll help you find the answers that you need. Okay, so as a parent today, I'm so glad to have had that guidance then. And if I had gotten the ready-made answers, I would have never been able to reach where we are at with an understanding of how it should have been. So greatly appreciate Sonal, Nozzer, and her dudes, right? I remember we called both of you the dudes all the time in the group, and the little dude. I remember you were wanting a dog at the time, and then how Sonal also got us to understand that it's a child wanting something and needing it is two different things. And I remember you started your animal psychology training, right? So there's a
Yes.
lot we've learned from you.
Yeah.
So why don't you start and introduce yourselves?
Yeah. So I have been spoken about a lot just now by Shanu. Thank you so much. So I'm Sonnal Pardiwala, a homeschooling mother to these two brilliant progeny. How do we put it? And this is Nozzer. He's actually the one who introduced
Hi.
us to homeschooling, and I kind of took it forward. Shahan and Shahan, come on, introduce
Say hi.
yourself.
Hi, I'm Shahen. I have been a homeschooler on and off. First, I was a homeschooler for 2 years after grade 7. After that, I went to college, and then I went back to degree college as a homeschooler. So, kind of almost homeschooled myself for degree college for 3 years. So, I've had that experience for a really, really long time. But if I have to say who has been the homeschooler in this family for the longest time, it is this guy.
Hi. So I have been homeschooling since second standard. Right now I am in grade 10. So I have been enjoying myself for 8 years.
He has.
Yes, he's absolutely lived up the homeschooling life. So Nozzer, you didn't say much about yourself.
I am Nozzer Pardiwala, and I'm thoroughly enjoying the homeschooling journey that we took up on my behest. And I'm really proud of that decision, and we are happy that we took that decision.
So the Pardiwala families, from my understanding, is a very uh, all-rounder family. I guess the only profession which isn't included in your group is, a surgeon, right? So, So I am not sure if there is anything that there is left where you guys could add to your kitty of things you guys have done, from teaching and tutoring people to now with psychology. I mean, an animal training, you have a little animal trainer there. So, I mean, you guys have done it all. So, when you did start Nozzer, at the time when you did decide to homeschool, what was it that egged you on onto this journey? If I'm not wrong, you were also having a tutoring class at the time, right? You had
Right,
a
right.
tutoring class. So, what was it that got you to start researching or look into homeschooling, an alternate means of education? I mean, someone who's having a tutoring setup,
Right,
tuition classes, right, is someone who
right.
should even more be someone saying कि नहीं, traditional schooling is the best, आप वहाँ भेजो फिर वही करो. मतलब you guys took the alternate route at a time where there weren't many doing it. So what egged
Correct.
you onto that route?
So basically, actually, now today I'm sharing something that I have not shared before. Okay, so a totally different thing, a different perspective, that since you asked me through this. So I was teaching for quite some number of years, like almost from the age of 17, I have been a teacher. And the thing was that after a period of time, like almost 2 decades, I realized, and I was like knowing in and out how the academics are done at the school level. So I was already aware of that, what was there in the entire formal education system. And coincidentally, at that point of time, what was happening was I was writing a book. It was my second book, which is now called The Lovedale Married to Life. And the research was about two kids who are going to be homeschooling in a rural setup. And one fine day, I was just sharing the idea with Sonal, and Sonal said, "कि अच्छा ये है homeschooling करेंगे बच्चे in the story. So why can't we do it for Shahen and Shahan?" So very selfishly, I was very absorbed in the whole process of research only for the book. But from that point onwards, the research became for why not for Shahin and Shahan. And that is how, at that point of time, it was at a very nascent stage, homeschooling in India. So I had some research done, some blogs written by a few unschoolers at that point of time. And then we, of course, met at a conference of homeschoolers, and we realized that, my God, there are homeschoolers all over the country. And from there on, the decision was made. Of course, the whole idea was being in the education field. Yes, it was completely something diagonal, I mean, completely dramatically opposite to what we were doing as a profession. But somewhere, in fact, that was a very good reason for me to get into homeschooling for my kids. And once the decision was made, actually, I was the one who was little skeptical, and I asked Sonal on the day of the uh, day when we were going to get the leaving certificate. I said, "Are you sure we are going to do this?" And Sonal was like, "Of course, we are doing it now. We are into it."
So yeah, as teachers, like you're asking us that why as teachers we thought that this should be an option. Because actually because we were teachers, we could think of this as an option because we realized that what all things the children are going through. So when our children were going through the same thing, the same test anxieties or the same kind of thing, we had to take a step back and question that, I mean, do we really want our children to grow up like this? Do we want them to spend the childhood like this? Yeah, they are good, they are academically nice, but then shouldn't they have more time to themselves to, explore whatever it is that they want to explore? Why should they sit for 6 hours or 7 hours, or why should they go through this, crushing anxiety every week? Because at that time the CCE had been introduced. So every week there was an evaluation, and the children were so anxious about it. They couldn't miss the school. And I was like, is this life going to be about like this? So, as teachers, because we understood the stress, it was in fact a kind of an encouraging step that no, we don't want our children to have this. No, we don't want our children to do this. And that's where we could take that kind of step. So, I hope that clarifies kind of.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So Shaheen and Shahan, when how did it go with you? When did this become a discussion where you were asked whether you want to do it, and how did you feel at the time? What were your emotions? Were you worried about all the friends you were not going to meet enough, and how was it in the first few days as well after you left school and started homeschooling?
I'll go first. So when I got the idea of homeschooling for the first time and I introduced it to me, obviously it was a family discussion. It was never that they have taken a decision already or it's just them. It was always that, okay, we are a part of the process. And that was true for everything else, not just homeschooling. For everything else, it would always be that we are taking the decision together. No matter what that decision is, we are taking it together. And for homeschooling, when I got the idea first time, personally and emotionally, it was a great idea. I loved it from the minute I knew it. I was just 14 or 13 back then, but even then I had this feeling that yeah, this is something I can do. This is something I want to do. Despite the fact that I had friends at school, despite the fact that I was really good at academics as well, when the idea of homeschooling came that I can stay at home and do it all by myself, it was something that I completely lapped up to. In fact, there was a point in grade 7 when I was being homeschooled. One of the days I came back and dad took me in a corner and he's like, you know what, we have decided we are probably not going to homeschool. We're probably going to continue with school. And I was so heartbroken because I had gotten so excited about that idea. Of course, eventually we homeschooled, but back when I had heard that, I had gotten really sad because I loved that idea from the get go. There was no second thought in my mind, even though I was just 13 years old. I absolutely loved that idea.
So yeah, mom and dad asked us. In fact, we had also done a poll that dad has given us a piece of paper and told out of 100%, how much do you want to homeschool? And we had filled out it and we had then calculated the total and all that. So yeah, it's very important that you ask the kids whether or not they want to homeschool, because it's some children like school, which is not true for us, but the children who like school shouldn't be taken out of school without reason. But yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah, so it's basically, I was more worried about the little one when we had to take the decision than the elder one, because he had a substantial amount of schooling. So we were like, we knew, and even he knew where the cracks are and where the stress is and everything. So he was a lot more mature at that level to understand. But he was just finishing his grade 2. So I was very worried that as a mother, am I taking the right decision? He was a little skeptical, like as a father, are we doing the right thing for him at that particular time, because he's so young. We don't know what he's going to miss. So I did sit there and kind of cried a little about it. Like, are you okay, Shan? Should we really do this for you? Do you want to, like, go to school for one more year? But then the two brothers are so thick with each other. It's like if one is doing it, the second has to go for it. So that's when finally we decided to take a joint poll and opt them out. But yes, the anxiety was there that are we doing the right thing? But then we were pretty happy about it now, but at that time it was there. So any mother going through the anxiety should know anxiety will stay as a part of your makeup. It is not going anywhere. It will stay with you. So stay with it also.
True.
Yeah?
So, at the time when you did start homeschooling, I'm sure since the boys had you to guide them, how was it? Did you have them sit for a specific number of hours, or did they decide their hours? How was it? Did they unschool? Like today, when we decide to homeschool, the one suggestion every homeschooler does suggest to the new wanting to homeschool is that you should unschool for a while, get the school out of your system and not expect to copy it back at home, right? So you set your own rhythm and you do it as per the convenience of everyone, and that's how we suggest to each other. So how did you guys go about then, because you did not have anyone to guide you the way you've been guiding a lot of us? How did you guys start?
So it was a whole big process of unlearning for us. So I will of course tell you my end, my and Nozzer's end. The kids will pitch in and tell you their study levels and how did they adjust to the routine. So it was more like, there is this famous story that I have written this blog also on it, the U-turn of unlearning. So it is like we had taken them out, but that whole thing was there that, oh, we can't take them away from studying. They have to sit there and they have to write something and they have to do their math and do their science. So we had to we would go in the month of April. We went into this particular stationery shop and we were like, please give us the book of grade 8 and grade 3. And the first thing that naturally the stationery guy asks is which school, because they have a tie up with the school. So they have these bundles of all schools and they're like, which school? And we didn't know, and there was such a massive crowd. So I and Nozzer didn't know which school to tell him. How do I explain this guy that they are homeschooling? We just need grade 8 and grade 3 ka koi bhi school. And he was so frustrated because of the crowd. So he's like, Konsa school, Konsa school. That's where I and Nozzer actually took a step back and asked a very simple question that, okay, till now we had to be in this shop because 1st April school will start and the kids have to start giving their exam. Why are we here now? मतलब किसको जवाब देना है? What we have to do now? So that's where we took the car and actually took that U-turn के बाद में देखेंगे. अभी क्यों कुछ भी start करना है? Who are we supposed to answer? So that is the first story and first unlearning on our part. That what's the hurry? No, now who am I supposed to answer? So that was the first thing. The second thing, yes, for a little while we did have this routine. 10 o'clock we'll get up, and 1 o'clock tak we will study. Then 2 o'clock our class begins, so we have to be there. We have to write and this and that. So then the whole epiphany came from the elder one. His first question when we did English chapter. So he's saying, "Mommy, you know that I know this chapter. I know that I know this chapter." We furiously debated over the whole thing. Now, why do I need to by heart an answer? So that was another unlearning as a family, that why do I need to do this? So that's where, and then they sat and negotiated, Mommy, no history, no geography. If you want to find out something, we will go on Google and find out. Why do I need to sit and have a textbook where I'm going to mug up the answers? So that's where the whole journey of freedom came. The whole structure, 1 month, the structure was there for, let's say, 1 month. After that, the structure went. No structure. We would be like, okay, you will read the chapter, you will answer behind or not answer, as long as you understand, go through it. Math also, they would practice a little bit. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. So in the last 2 years, I think Shahan had touched no books. Absolutely no books. It's like, if I want to read something, so he finished Harry Potter, the whole book. After that, give him a book, he's saying, no, I don't want to read. He went into more of documentaries of canine behaviorism and stuff like that. So that was our experience and our unlearning as parents. There's no hurry. Let the children learn what they want to learn. And if they chose something, then that's where they gave more enthusiasm. And that's where they also brought in their best thing. So there I will now put it up to Shahen and Shahan that what was their studying experience. This was, as parents, we learned to unlearn actually. Yeah, Shahen.
So when we began homeschooling, back when I was in grade 8, which was my first year homeschooling, and Shahan was in grade 3, which was his first year homeschooling, we started, like you said, get the school out of the system. We did the opposite at first, right? Because we were still in the system and we wanted to stick to the routine. We didn't want to, suddenly be like, okay, we don't want anything to do with this. So yeah, like mom explained, we got our textbooks eventually. We had a routine. We would wake up at 9 in the morning and do this and do that. And I think eventually what started happening is that we realized, and all of us realized, that that is what was happening. We were just bringing school home. It wasn't homeschooling, it was school homing. Just school has been brought home. There was another external structure that we did not like. And we were kind of just trying to stick to that because it's so hard to let go of that, right? Because you've been in it for so long. But eventually, now that we were homeschooling, we started to say no to so many things that we could otherwise not say no to. Like, I don't want to write an examination after reading a chapter. I want to debate it with my mom. I want to talk about it. I want to write some other essay about it, but I don't want to write a paper. I don't want to study history and geography because it does not interest me. Like Shahan decided he does not want to do mathematics because he doesn't see himself doing anything with respect to that mathematics in his life. So he can say no to those things because of homeschooling. So eventually that's what, it's not about having a structure or not having a structure. It's about saying yes to the things you want to say yes to and saying no to the things that you don't want to do, and then adapting yourself to whatever works best for you, not just taking a structure from somewhere else and putting on yourself.
No.
Nothing to say. You all covered it.
Okay, we thought. But what was your studying experience? You are giving your NIOS now. So
Yeah, the first 8 years have been fun, but now that I have to get back to studying, it's a little tough. But it's fine because I have a lot of time. I don't have to go to school, so I can cover studying and still have a lot of fun.
So with both of the boys, sorry, go ahead, Sonnal.
No, I was just summarizing it, that it's like for parents to know when you just start homeschooling, you understand that your boat has, left the schooling shore. But for a little while, the hangover will stay, and you'll want to bring the school back home and use the same methods you used in the school. Feel very anxious about the fact that I'll need a tutor and I have to, make my child up to the mark. But the moment your boat goes like into the depths, you'll start enjoying a new freedom, and then you'll start making new decisions. That okay, this is
True.
what my child likes, this is how I want to go forward. ये सब नहीं करना है, ये सब जरूरी नहीं है. So that will come for all parents.
True.
Yeah.
So this is exactly what happened with us as well. The way we started homeschooling was my daughter was in preschool at the time, and she came back home and she suddenly had a dislike to go to school, and she was like, "I don't want to go there." At the time when she started going to preschool or play school, the teachers loved her because she knew her things already, not because I had tried to teach her. She had learned from her older brother. My son is 3 years older to her. So while playing, children learn colors and they used to learn to write. I never tried teaching either of my kids when they were in play school and preschool, or even at the time when my son was in grade 1, because I did not want to stress them out. At my, what I was finding very weird when my children started going to school compared to my memories of the time when I went to school was I enjoyed it when I was in grade 1 and 2 and 3. My children, when my son was in school, it was so stressful. There was the curriculum was so difficult already for a first grader. The things which he was learning in grade 1, I remember learning in grade 3. Okay, so it was a little bit of a. I did not want to stress him up even more by trying to teach him and make him mug up things at home. However, it was going on. So it was with my daughter that we started on this route. So she came home and she started refusing to go to school. And when I visited there, they were wondering why she doesn't want to come because they all loved her. She knew her things. They didn't have to take an effort to teach her. So on further inquiry with my daughter, what she did not like was she did not like the teacher shouting at other children. So it was a bit of a shocker, and initially I was like, "Tumko nahi daat rahe, to you ignore it." So her point was, I learned with my brother at home. I'll continue learning at home from my brother. Whatever they're teaching, I already know. So I don't want to go there. And I just started hearing the term homeschool on Facebook on certain places. So I said, okay, don't go. And she stopped going. And then my son started realizing, and then, he also started saying, I don't want to go to school. I want to learn at home. And that's how, and when I joined, I got connected with Pooja Jain, who connected me with you. And I joined Active Parenting. And I saw your dudes living that life of homeschooling. Okay. And I came up and I started asking all those questions. Okay, if I take them out of school, now what next? Tell me, what do I do next with them? Like all the parents which do ask you, I think I started doing the same thing at that time. We tried to take the structure from the school and bring it at home, and because every time a family starts to homeschool, one of the other things is all the other relatives in the family will start questioning you. Why aren't you, if you are supposed to be homeschooling, why aren't you homeschooling? घर पे स्कूल चलाओ, 5 घंटा बिठाओ, पढ़ाई कराओ, right? So that starts happening. The second problem that homeschoolers face is relatives, neighbors, everybody's trying to second guess your decision and make you second guess your decision. So at the time when you took them out of school and the homeschooling journey started, 7th standard and second grade, so it's 8 years. So I guess Shahin did your 10th through long distance Maharashtra board, right? So how did you
Correct.
enroll for that? How did you
Uh,
enroll for that? And how
um,
did you enroll for NIOS as well? So a
mhm.
little bit of guidance to parents who are looking at doing that would really help right now.
Yeah, so basically, first of all, it was not called long distance state board. It's the state board of Maharashtra. Okay, and state board of Maharashtra and many other states would have their own respective rules. In Maharashtra, at that point of time, it was fourth grade certificate you needed now, which is fifth grade. So all the new homeschooling parents should know this, that if you opt for giving your 10th board for your child, then you need at least the fifth grade passing certificate, and which Shahin naturally had because he had done till 7. So for him, it was much easier. And the simple way was that because I was already into academics, I was teaching, and during our school times also, it was very common. But the misconception that was broken at that point of time was that the Form 17 is for people who are repeaters or who fail the year and they have to go ahead and give SSC. which was absolutely wrong. It was not that way. It was for anybody who has not given the 10th board and they want to give for certain reason to pursue certain other career at a later age also. So maybe a 45-year-old women or a man can also opt for giving that. Prerequisite being 5th grade certificate at least hona chahiye. So the form number 17 has to be filled if you are in the state of Maharashtra. In your own respective state, you can ask for what it is. And also the best option, the other option that we realized for Shahan was the NIOS option. So NIOS doesn't require you any particular grade, or maybe if your child has never been to school, then also you can just opt out for NIOS 10th grade. NIOS also very nicely offers you 5th, 7th, I think 5th, 8th and 10th grades. So there you have the possibility to give you those exams as well. And so this is the method that you should generally opt out. Also, there is the international board IG curriculum. There are some schools, but of course it falls in the expensive bracket. So the choice are plenty now, of course.
So you have two options basically if you want to look at closer home. One is look into your state board. You're using the same textbooks, the same exams. Nowhere in the report card it is written that you are a private candidate. You get the same thing. The schools, the government has assigned these schools where your child can go give practicals, your child can go give the oral exams, and they give you a center, they give you hall ticket. All your paperwork is done by these assigned schools. So that is your form 17 of your state board.
And also let me add over there that actually when I went to the private, the institute which was doing private SSC for the state board. So when we go with preconceived notion के अरे इसको homeschooling कैसे समझाएंगे ये वो. Actually मुझे समझाने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ी. In fact, he was very open to that whole idea. When I said वो homeschooling कर रहा है, घर पे ही पढ़ रहा है. अच्छा तो ठीक है ना, कोई बात नहीं, भर दो ये form. And then he explained to me that there are people who are like very good in sports. They are not able to go to school. Some cannot afford education after 5th grade, or some of them are very talented. They work in TV serials and they cannot learn. So they are doing it. So he was actually more open to that whole idea, and I didn't have to explain to him homeschooling. So that was one added advantage.
That is form 17. You're using your state board textbooks. The second option, the practical part I am sharing, is sharing the emotional part. So the second part is the NIOS curriculum. It is good. I mean, when we are looking at the textbooks for Shahan, it is really, really vast. So at no point should anybody feel that if my child does NIOS, he'll be remaining backwards or he will not have adequate knowledge. They send you the books. If they can't send, the ebook is there. And there is the portion that they have is they are covering tremendous amount of portion. And trust me, the paper patterns are tough because they don't have any options. In all the other boards, I have seen options in the paper pattern that this one doesn't have. That means your child has to really be up to the mark to score there. And they also have these options. You can drop other languages. You can drop mathematics, and also that there's lots and lots of options. So these are two options which are closer home. There is an IG option, but it does get expensive for many. So we want, but yes, it is still there. You can avail of it. Okay. So Shahan, do you want to share anything of NIOS? How did you like studying?
It's good because the portion is actually pretty vast. I was a little bit skeptical that again I just had to do 5-6 chapters and all that like SSC board and it will be easy, but at least it is challenging me enough to get my attention.
Shahan has been following the NIOS curriculum, and Shahen did the Maharashtra board exams. Shahen, I really want you to share your percentage with everyone because I remember your percentage. So I want you to share your percentage, your 10th percentage.
93.6. 10th grade was 93.6.
93.6, right? So that's important to share because people have a lot of assumptions when it comes to homeschoolers. So 93.6, this was about 3-4 years ago, right?
2016?
6 years ago.
6 years ago, right? Okay. And you, after that, you've gone ahead and done a lot of things. You started working, you wrote a book. Tell us about your book.
So my book's name is Burnout No More. I released it last year, January 27th. So basically that book is part of my experience of grade 12, which I had done incidentally through the formal education route. For 2 years, I wanted to give college a shot. My parents wanted me to give college a shot, just to check whether we can go back to the system. And yeah, it was pretty good. I was able to fit into it. But then what I also started experiencing was that the level of intellectual stimulation that I would get at home when I had control over my own structure was not what I would get at college. Despite the fact that I was at a really good institute in the city, I did not get the level of stimulation that I would have wanted and would need to enjoy what I was studying. I was already interested in psychology back when I was homeschooling, and that's what I wanted to get into. But 12th grade, it took up a lot of my energy, a lot of emotional exhaustion, a lot of burnout. And I think that book is basically what I wrote for myself in terms of like, I wish I had that book when I was giving my 12th board exams. I took about 3 years after my 12th to write that book. I researched about positive psychology, hypnosis, and incorporated all of those research-based, evidence-based concepts into the book. And yeah, it's available on Kindle. It's available online as well. So yeah, that's what the book is about. It's about exam stress, what I went through, and how to deal with it. Burnout no more. Making exam stress go away without compromising your results.
Autobiography by a homeschooler about getting back to the system and how it was your experience entirely. Something I really look forward to having my son read soon. And Sharmila, you want to join us? I've been taking up the space a lot. I think you should ask some
No,
questions.
yes, it's been such a joy to be in the background and listen, and I must compliment you, Shanu. You're a natural in hosting. So, and to move on, um, not that I have many questions, but I have always been intrigued by the Pardiwala family. I've been, there's so many of these videos that they keep posting and these memes, which I share all across. So there is a fun element that's involved in everything that they do. And what comes across to me and what inspires me with my homeschooling journey when I think about them is this whole element of fun. And I think I would love to hear them share how do they bring this fun into their lives, because their life is filled with so many moments. I remember a film that they have made where they've shown
Yeah,
a day in their life, and how
we
they
need
grew
more
up
of those.
cooking
We
and
totally
stuff.
miss all
So
that.
yeah,
Those little videos with Shahan and them, and you know, the talking to the Dhobiwala uncle, and I mean, I really miss those.
Absolutely.
yeah,
I think
yeah.
actually sometimes what happened is so many times we would keep getting the same questions from parents who wanted to homeschool. So we thought, why not answer all the questions through these fun videos so it becomes easy to understand. And that is the idea that happened. But coming to the fun part, actually, I remember even while we were schooling uh, for the kids, Sonal had told me very early when Shahen was very young that we will always attend the PTMs of the kids and the pediatrician appointments always together. We will never go singly to them, and that is what we stuck to all throughout the life. And so when the very first experience came, naturally homeschooling ka journey start kar diya, and we were off with the timetable. We threw the timetable out of the window, and then we were like looking out for a lot of activities. So even in my book I had mentioned something called as the 6-week fun program. So it's like I had introduced that initially. Okay, let's try something new for at least 6 weeks, and if then we like it, we continue it. We don't like it, we don't continue it. But it should not be anything related to the curriculum. It should be something else or some fun element that we want to learn. So we actually wanted them to learn dancing because that's the most common thing happening all around you. And we went to Shamak's Institute, and I was registering both my kids. And at that point of time, I was wondering, Are Bapre, for 45 minutes, I have to come and go every day. So I asked him, what is the age group, or the age limit for your dance class? He said, anybody, you can also do it. So I said, okay, we can do it. Fine. So I registered myself and Sonal also. So we all four were in that Shamak Dawa dance class, and we were doing it, and we did a stage performance, all four of us together in that big huge group, like students. We were there learning with them. So I think the fun element and the learning process all in our family keeps happening together.
So, what I also feel, that we believe this when that homeschooling thing started, that instead of now outsourcing, we have insourced the education. So we are the role models. So if we have to show our children that a fun-filled life does exist, or if you can keep reinventing yourself, we would be the person who would have to model that. So that's when I started my blogging journey, and he was 14-year-old, and he actually taught me how to take screenshots. That book, Nozzer saw. Then there is like, again, always an adventurous question we are asking, what best we can do with this. So then that book, he took it and he made a book out of all those blogs because they were so popular. Now that book became, so I am asking myself what best I can do. So we sent it to Limca Book of Records, and it just went, and they were accepting it. And 2016 Limca Book of Records, that book was accepted. So it is, and then at 40 he was also thinking that he wanted to become a filmmaker as a child, but then in the, how do you say, steamrolling of life, we never made it happen. So at 40 he questioned, and we questioned together that why can't he. So that's the time he picked up his camera. So the best thing we can shoot at that time were our children. No other actors would like sign up for it. So, and then we were starting to get these queries about homeschooling, so we started making videos. So you'll have Shahen's youngest videos, like when he's 14 and 15, his voice almost squeaking, that change of voice, you can actually see the whole transition. So that's where the fun element comes, that we are only four of us there, there's no fifth one yet. So we are like always together, and we are constantly reinventing things, and we have promised each other that whatever you do, we are all three with you.
So just adding to that, just recent example, I'm very skeptical about if I can't do two things at a time. And yesterday, Shahan was giving his English paper, his second prelim, which he's doing at home under our supervision. So that is the time then Shahan said, let's listen to some music. And Shahan was working his actual work. I think Sonal was doing something, I was doing something. You were cooking, I was writing, and Shahan was writing his paper. He said, let's do it. And actually, while writing his prelim paper, we were listening to music in the house. So, I mean, it's become natural now to have fun while doing various activities. And that is because we have involved the kids. Like Shayan rightly said, that they were always a part of the process. Any kind of decision, chote se leke bade tak. Like many times I feel that even in my experience of teaching, I saw that parents not involving kids into their decision-making process. So I think they have been involved in small to big. TV खरीदना है, car खरीदनी है, ये करना है, छोटा कुछ घर का vegetable भी लाना है. They have been a part of everything, and so why not fun together?
Also, I feel that isn't the point of life to have fun. So the education system has put us in a routine which doesn't let you have fun. It's restricted 30 minutes, you study this, then this, then this, then this. It's divided in periods. Whereas life isn't supposed to be divided in periods, and it isn't scheduled. So it's just supposed to have fun. So why not have fun together?
Exactly. And I think what Shahan said makes a lot of sense. That the education system sometimes tends to make us not have fun. Like, think about these very common examples that happen. Kids are having fun, screaming, laughing, giggling, and people say, "Shh! Don't talk! Don't scream! Don't make fun! Is this a place where you have fun? Why are you cracking jokes?" Because that's a kid. Because that is a 12-year-old kid who wants to have fun. Let the kid have fun. And if you look at it in one way, the school is actually crushing the spirit of a kid who just wants to have fun. Why should a kid not make fun? Why should a kid not laugh? Now, the next question, of course, next point may be discipline. The kid has to be instilled with discipline. But what discipline at the cost of somebody else telling you not to do it? That's not discipline, that's punishment. That's somebody else telling you to do something. The moment you take that teacher out of the room, the kid is going to get back to doing exactly what you didn't want the kid to do. That's not coming from within. That's happening only because there are consequences. So what you really want is for the kid to be able to do those things by themselves, because they want to do it, because they want to fix their routine that way, because they feel that, okay, this is what excites me. Not because some scary looking person entered the room and told them not to do something. right? That's not discipline. That's just punishment. That's just fear. That's not coming from within.
Amazing. Absolutely beautiful. The thoughts. I mean, I do not even feel like I'm talking to a. How old are you, Shahan, exactly? 25?
I'm 50.
Sorry?
Yeah, 50.
25?
I'm 50.
No, seriously. I mean, this is something I hope some adults could learn and understand, that dictating and deciding things for children is not the only job of a parent. Helping them
Absolutely.
reach their full potential is what we parents are supposed to do. When I have gotten questioned about this constantly and involving our children in day-to-day decision making, I have been questioned, does a child even understand that? I think your kids could give an answer to those people having asked me those questions, and so very beautifully done. Absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd just like to take this question that has come. I think it fits in with this discussion. And so it's a very sweet question, in fact. क्या homeschooling में बच्चों के साथ इंग्लिश में ही बात करना ज़रूरी है? My question to Pardiwala family is which language you talk or argue or discuss?
Okay,
So
okay.
this is actually a very funny, very nice question for us, because we were in Surat and there was this person, they were showing us some flats around and they were looking at us amazed, and they're looking at us and I'm thinking, why is he continuously looking at us? I said, क्या हुआ, मतलब क्यों आप ऐसे, नहीं आप कौन सी भाषा में एक दूसरे से बात कर रहे हो? वो बच्चा उसके साथ ऐसे बात कर रहा है, आपसे बात कर रहा है, तब वो भाषा में बात कर रहा है. So we are actually always talking in English, Hindi, Gujarati. We're shifting from all languages. So नहीं, English में बात करने की कोई जरूरत नहीं है. आप हिंदी, मराठी, and that's the beauty of homeschooling. Your kids actually learn the first few words in the mother tongue. उसको इंग्लिश पर पहुंचने क्यों दे रहे हो? अच्छा है ना, मदर टंग में सीख रहे हैं तो मदर टंग में सीखने दो. ठीक है, तो कोई भी भाषा का प्रयोग कर सकते हैं आप होमस्कूलिंग करते हो.
You can talk any language. वो अपनी वो language की गरिमा बताइए उसको and show them to own that language. आपको fanatic नहीं हो जाना किसी एक भाषा को लेकर. But like I tell Shahen and Shahan, language is a astra. It's not a shastra. I don't look at it as weapon, but it's like an astra. It's something that can help you navigate with people. तो आप जितनी ज्यादा भाषा जानते हो, आप उतने ज्यादा लोगों से connect हो सकते हो. So today when I know English, Hindi, Marathi, Gujarati, I am a hit wherever I'll go, because I can speak to maids and they will like, or I can go to these administrative offices and I'm like, I can flirt people because I speak their language. So language की गरिमा दीजिए, show the pride in the language, whatever language you are using, use it with pride. Yes, this question comes because in our country, English has become the currency language. Like Rajasthan also, we are speaking more in English. But जरूरी नहीं है आप किसी भी भाषा में बोल सकते. Okay, just give that pride to the children. अपने बच्चे को वो गरिमा दीजिए कि भाई ये जो भाषा है वो हमारी है और इसका उस पे गर्व करना चाहिए.
Yeah.
So we speak 3 languages in our house, that is English, Gujarati, and like when we are fighting, we are fighting in Gujarati.
Yeah.
Okay. When we are
Fighting happening.
when we are debating on some intellectual topic, it's English. Okay, and when we are talking about cooking and stuff, it's Hindi. So all 3 languages in our. So no language barrier should be there. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the
Language is
next
a tool
one
of
is more.
communication.
Yeah, true. The next question is more of a phrase or a just freedom of education or education with freedom. Maybe you can share some of your thoughts around that.
Okay.
I think what I kept saying again and again is that freedom के साथ एक मतलब you get your responsibility. With freedom comes responsibility. तो ये जो आपने अभी बात बोली कि या you don't leave the kids, आपको decide करना है सब kids के बारे में. बच्चों को क्या समझ में आएगा? This is such you're like demeaning the kids even before giving them a chance. In fact बच्चों को ज्यादा समझ में आता है. क्यों उनको ज्यादा समझ में आता है? क्योंकि आप कभी-कभी उनको वो चीज नहीं बताते हो तो भी उनको वो पता होता है. मतलब उनको ज्यादा समझ में आ रहा है. तो जब हम we homeschool, so while homeschooling we are giving them so much freedom. तो जो हमने किया was guided learning. हमने उनको छोड़ नहीं दिया कि जाओ और जो तुमको करना है करो. तो yeah, they had that freedom to choose what to study and what not to study. So like homeschooling is completely a personal journey. आपके family में क्या dynamics है, आप उसको कैसे करना चाहते हो, ये completely it will depend upon you and your family and your dynamics. For us, it was easy. We were all four involved in it. So the freedom was there. We never restricted them with mobiles. We never restricted them with watching content of any kind. In fact, we watch a lot of international content every day. You can see the projector behind. So we watch a lot of international content of all varied varieties so that we can have discussions regarding it, and it is out in the open. The kids know what to expect in real world instead of hiding from them. So yes, with freedom comes responsibility, I think, and the kids learn that.
So what we are here, when there is a phrase freedom with education, yeah, education with freedom. Ideally, the word actually should be the word choice. Okay, when we are saying freedom, so if I'm taking a big cage and putting the bird in it and saying, "Aap isme jitna udna hai udno," it is okay, you fly however much, then that is not a choice that the person or the bird will make. They have only those limited things. Our schools are doing that. They are creating barriers, and then within the barriers they're using words like freedom. When I am using the word freedom, I'm offering my child a choice. So it's like my MA books of psychology, while I'm in the house, I had preserved them, but I never took those books and I told Shahen, you have to read them because I'm a psychologist. It's like I waited, like he read the 11th standard textbook, then he wanted to know more, so he asked me for more books because he knew the books are in the house. Then he took those books, he read, he understood, so we ordered more books. So it was a choice that he followed. Then he wanted to understand hypnosis. So then we found a mentor for him. Further, we took the first class together. Both of us were there in the first class that we took about hypnosis. But later on, he decided I want to take another level. So at every juncture, the child should have a choice as to what I want to do here. And then as parents, I am accepting that choice and I am opening up the resources. So for Shahan also, when he was interested in canine behaviorism, he went and he opened that phone and he went through so many documentaries. Today, any species of dog, any behavioral pattern, he'll be able to tell you more than I will be able to. So at that time, we opened up the resource. We are not shutting down his choice. We are not sitting and telling that, oh, why are you interested? Iska koi paisa nahi milega. Or this is not that is going to get you anywhere. You have to. Then we did get him a dog, and also when he's touching, he's realizing, where am I at this? Right now, I want to do this or not. So the whole choice of exploring what you want to explore is in the hands of the children. So our education and our this is, are we giving the child the choice in any given moment what they want to do and how they want to do? If these two questions you will answer, you will know what freedom is. Yeah?
And according to me, this question, education is overrated. Okay, the life of a child should not be focused so much on education. It should be focused on many different things. Okay, so according to me, freedom comes first, and education should be a small part of a person's life and not the whole thing. So it shouldn't be given that much thought on.
Okay, there's also a difference that I keep sharing in my groups and all that. That is, there is a difference between what we call as study and learning. What is studying? Studying is sitting with a paper, pencil, a curriculum, and rote learning it with the express purpose of giving an exam and proving that mujhe itna yaad hai. That is studying. That is what we grew up with. Every time we didn't sit with a book, we remember of elder shouting, "Tumko padhai nahi hai. You, why are you sitting like this?" So that is studying. But when I'm looking at learning, learning is happening every minute. If my child is speaking today in live, he's learning confidence. Or if I am sitting and making chapati, I have learned. If he's making then chapati by observation, he's learned. He folds clothes, he's learned. He sits in a he walks and he falls. He learns that, okay, I walk like this, now next time I'll be careful while doing this. Like he sprained his hand during his exam when he was giving his first mock exam. So there is a plaster and everything, whatever, but he learned that now till my board exams actually don't get over, I'm not going to do any vigorous thing. So this is something that he's learning. So as a society, we are not giving credence to learning. We are more focused on studying. So that difference, if we can make, then the whole discussion of freedom or choice will change. Because we are not giving any freedom to the children as to what they will study. If they are in school, they have to study these subjects. This is the exam. So if they don't feel like giving the exam, they don't have the choice to not give the exam. Whereas at least when he was homeschooling, Shahan did have that choice that, okay, not Monday, I'll do this on Thursday. I don't feel prepared, I will do it tomorrow. That is choice.
Also, there was freedom to explore other things. Like Shahan said, that education is one part of your life, but there are so many other things you can explore. So Shahin had this method of, his process of elimination, that he tried to explore whatever we knew. She knew about journalism, or she knew about certain things, psychology. We put forward. I knew about advertising. I knew about journalism. I put forward those ideas, and then the kids got the opportunity. We took them to Lit Fest, we took them to various places, we took them to mentors. So, yeah, Shine, you can elaborate on that.
So, I think we'll take a little psychological theory here. There was a psychologist called James Marcia who developed the 4 statuses of teenage life. And those 4 statuses are foreclosure, diffusion, moratorium, and achievement. Just quickly go through them. Foreclosure means you make a choice, you commit to it, but you have not really explored anything. Okay? You just decide, okay, yahi karna hai aur puri life mein yahi karna hai. Right? There's no exploration at all. Then there is something else, which is diffusion, which is I will not commit to anything, but I will also not explore. This is a kind of raising your hand and not wanting to take any responsibility or freedom for that matter, which is what ends up happening to a lot of people in the education system, because that level of freedom is never given to them in the first place to be able to explore anything. So the only alternative then, especially if the education system has labeled that person a failure, if their marks are not up to the mark, what happens is the person says, maybe there's nothing for me out there, because the education system has sold them that idea. Then there's another level, which is moratorium and achievement. Moratorium is exploring a lot, but not yet committing. I'll try everything out, but I'll not commit to anything yet. And then finally comes achievement, which is I've explored everything, and now I am deciding to commit after the exploration. Now the aim, of course, for all of us is to get to that achievement phase, but you can't really get there unless you explore first. And this, I think I'd read when I was in the 8th grade, and I was pretty inspired by it. And since my parents' idea of how we should pick our career was also very similar, that's what we did. I was exploring a lot of stuff. I wanted to write. I wanted to get into advertising. I wanted to play tennis. I wanted to dance. I wanted to do television anchoring. I wanted to act. I wanted to write short films. I wanted to learn filmmaking. I wanted to get into psychology. I wanted to get into research. There was nothing I did not want to do. And homeschooling allowed me to try all of that. Dad mentioned the 6-week thing. We did that a lot of times. 6 weeks to dance, 6 weeks to tennis, 6 weeks to television anchoring, 6 weeks to understanding advertising, all of it. But actually going and doing it, right? Actually getting an idea. Maybe I would apply to a course or apply to an internship and actually get an experience of how to do that. And then I would realize, you know what, this is not for me. Like I realized acting, maybe I'm good at it, but it's not for me. Writing, I enjoy it. I can write a book. I don't really know if I want to make it my full-time profession. Advertising, it's good, but I don't really want to get into it. Tennis, I feel that I'm good, but I don't think I can ever compete at it and make it my profession. Dance, I like to dance at a wedding or in a barat or in a informal situation or while I'm washing utensils and music is playing, but I can't make that my career either. So I can drop all these things. So over the course of 2, 3, 4 years, I tried all of this and I dropped all of this. And then eventually achievement would be, coming to that point where I realize, okay, psychology is something that I want to focus on. But even then, I personally feel that exploring phase, to as much extent it goes on, the better. The more it goes on, the better, because you actually get to know what you want, because you don't really have to commit. And that's the reason I keep saying this. I am thoroughly against the idea of entrance examinations, because so much money and so much time a 16 or a 17-year-old kid is putting into something that they haven't really given a thought. They have not been allowed to give a thought. Tell me, how can a 16-year-old, this kid, he's 16 right now, he says all this amazing stuff, but can I really expect him to commit to something for the rest of his life? I expect him to give 24 hours a day for something he has not even considered. You know what, Shan, you have to become a doctor and give the next 12 years of your life to that because I decided so, or some other field for that matter, right? And that's why I don't like the idea of an entrance, because it's way too much pressure for a 16 or a 17-year-old kid from the mental health perspective. It is just not fair to a kid to have to give that and decide that, you know what, this is what you're going to do for the rest of your life, but you have no say in it. You have to put in a lot of effort. You have to make us proud, really, but you don't have any say in it. And that absolutely does not make any sense. I would rather be in the exploring phase for a longer period than commit to something that I was not ready for. No doubt, our highest depression rates and our highest suicide attempt rates are in the fields that have entrance examinations, or fields that are that competitive. You go out and you just look at the statistics of the number of medical students, number of engineering students, number of law students who are experiencing depression. It's really, really high and staggering in our country. It is scary, so scary. We should be doing something about it, but we are.
Very, very, very true. And in fact, I have always, in the last few years, I've come to the same conclusion, having looked at how we as parents push our children to make these choices, rather, or we push them towards them, and then we say कि उसने decide किया है कि उसको engineering करना है. And then, in a few years, I see so many children deciding they don't want to pursue that, and then they take a step back and then they try to do something at an age of 21, where Shahen is already having a career for the last 3-4 years, right? And doing so well. That's because he had a range of choices and he could explore so many things, where he could decide and eliminate the things which was just a hobby, and is something he'd like to try and pursue. And that is what children need. They need exposure to life choices and life skills, and wherein they can decide this is a life skill, or this is just a hobby, or this is something I just like to do for the sake of doing it. So children need an early age exposure to these options, which we as parents, because it was done with us, we are just following the same thing with our children, where we think it's not right to expose them to probably carpentry at this early age, or plumbing at this early age. But I think life skills is the way to go, where we expose children to all of these options and life skills, and children have the option to learn more and more about it, and where they can start eliminating at an early age, rather than start at an age where things should probably be more clear to them. So very, very nicely said. There is Sujay Kumar Bose, who wants to know what is your thoughts about addiction, how you understand if it's an addiction or passion in your kids.
What does it mean?
Okay.
I think
So
what he
basically,
means to ask is, what he means is, with all these online games probably popping up, like, some children are addicted to it, some children are probably going to make a career out of it, or, really learn something out of it, like, coding or something. So he's trying to ask whether how do you differentiate if it's just an addiction to your child, or if it's actually something of a passion for your child.
okay, so I had put up a video very recently because I was asked the same question. I'll also let the kids address it, but as a psychologist, I am addressing when you are using the word addiction. It's a diagnosable condition. When you consider the first thing that will go in an addiction is the functionality of the child. So you will have to look at that what the child is doing. Is the child in touch with reality? Is he able to connect with you? Is he able to follow instructions? If the mobile usage has gone to the level where the child forgets to eat, forgets to drink, is not able to coherently understand the instructions you're giving, that is when probably you may want to take the child for getting that thing diagnosed. But mostly in our culture, when we are using as addiction, we are basically using it as in a very loose way, and it has more to do with you not liking it. So again, I divide the two family thing into two. There is one type of a family which is techno averse, which basically thinks anything new technological is bad. Like in our times, we used to be told टीवी खराब है, टीवी के सामने मत बैठो, आँख खराब हो जाएगी, तुम्हारा दिमाग खराब हो जाएगा. I think my दिमाग is perfectly alright no matter how much TV I watched. And now that I'm not watching TV from last 3 years, also my life is okay. We do binge watch at times, but it helps because we discuss later. So that is one type of a family. Another type of family is sometimes very how do you say going for the popular opinion because it's very popular agenda driven articles you hear in all these portals that oh mobile is bad for the child and all. So I am not able to concur there because my children have been on mobile and doing a lot on the mobile. But look at your own dislike. Are you labeling them because it is a dislike, or are you labeling them because you have been told that your child is spending more time with the mobile? So that is one layer gone. Look into first your own thoughts about why is it that my child sitting with the mobile is going to be. I personally feel it's a phase. After a while, your children tend to kind of move to something else. Like he was so crazy about some video games, PUBG and stuff like that, but now okay, sorry, Call of Duty. But then no, now he's not so much into. Now that he's giving his exam, he's totally put it off his mobile. Or maybe there was a time when he was crazily watching these canine behaviorism videos, and he would eat my head, mommy see this, mommy see that, and I'm like, I'm doing something else. But no, I have. But it is a phase. Now he's okay. He's a little out of it. So when you are looking now, the second question that I'm addressing, that can one make a career out of it? So the best thing to do is introduce them to coding. If they don't warm up to it, accept it. That's how it is. They just like to sit, and because that is the thing to do today. Every second child is sitting with the mobile, like we were sitting in front of the TV maybe 20 years back. So it's not really, when you are talking of addiction, please look into it very seriously. Has the functionality of the child gone? Then definitely that is a time to go and seek some professional. And now over to the kids who are actually the mobile addicts in my house, according to most popular people.
So there's a designation in which the video gaming goes overboard. The first is to understand the reason, because video games are not just fun. In video games, when you win, the child gets a feeling of achievement. Okay, so throughout the lockdown, I was throughout completely on the phone, lot of many hours in a day. Okay, but as soon as the lockdown got over, I am more interested in sports. So I went to sports because I'm good at them and I get a good feeling when I win. So video game for a child could just be a source of getting achievement, feeling happy about himself. Because again, coming back to the education system, children have this pressure that they need to excel in something. So if they are not able to excel at studies, they are not understanding something. Playing in a video game and winning will give them a feeling of happiness, and that will help them get through it.
Yeah, that's actually a very, very nice point. In fact, a part of that I was going to address, but he already said it pretty well. The need for achievement part, which is like, yeah, I mean, if a kid cannot, the thing is, that's a value judgment, what mom said. See, very often right now we are in a society where we believe that something is only good if I can make a career out of it. Like everything that we do, we have this feeling that we need to monetize it. That if I'm good at dance, I need to monetize it. If I'm good at speaking something, if I have a good thought, I have to monetize it. If I am good at singing something, then I have to monetize it. And if I'm not monetizing it, it means that it means it isn't enough. And we are applying that to our kids as well. That just because they cannot monetize it means it is not good. Like I work from home. I have been working for the last 3 months from home. I spend almost 12 to 14 hours a day on my laptop. I'm constantly on my laptop, but no one's going to judge me for that because it's A, earning money, and B, it's a job. So that's okay. So that's socially acceptable. So really the difference first we have to know is that just because the kid is enjoying something does not mean it is bad. And there again, the education system's programming has done a lot to us. Like, child is sitting seriously and with a book, and all of a sudden we're like, oh wow, the kid is doing something, right? And the child is on a phone and enjoying it, actually liking it, and we make a judgment because it is not monetizable. That's one. So I'm not going to answer that at all, because what career can be made out of something is completely possible. You can make a career out of anything. So it should not be that just because that question should not arise that can my kid do this because the career is possible or not, right? If my parents had expected me to make a career out of all the 15 things I tried when I was 12 years old, then it would have been very difficult for me to explore anything. And second, the question about addiction is very valid actually in today's time, because we have been in a lockdown, we have been in our houses. The things we were able to do before, our kids can't do. Like we can't do that, right? Going down, playing cricket, playing football, running around, going on picnics, trips, all of that is cut down. So yeah, the tendencies of addiction have gone up. There's no question about it. But in many cases, it could be an addiction if it is affecting the child's functionality. Is the child not able to make friends whatsoever because of it? Is the child making friends online? Because that's happening. Many people make friends online, and maybe that could be a good experience also. I mean, sometimes it can be bad because it's unregulated, but It might also be a good experience. So the question you really need to ask is it an addiction in terms of, is it affecting the child's social life to the extent that the child is not able to make friends? B, is it helping the child escape something? Is there something the child is escaping? That's something very important to address, because that is something very concerning. An addiction doesn't come out of nowhere. It doesn't exist in a vacuum. It always comes from somewhere. If a kid is addicted to something, the question is, what is the child escaping from? That's something you need to address. That's more concerning. That's more worrying. Not the fact that the child is spending 12 hours on a video game, but why is the child doing that? What's going on that the child has to spend 12 hours in a game? Right? And number three, is it affecting the child's ability to talk to you, or the ability to communicate with people or do their daily tasks? And number four, and most important, absolutely most important, what are your feelings about it? As a parent, do you feel sometimes left out that your kid is spending more time on the phone and that you're not able to relate to the kid? Because that's a very real feeling. Like sometimes when my brother is on the phone, I feel that, oh, he's spending time on the phone and he's not spending time with me. Right? I mean, so I may get into it and start playing with him because I can do that. Of course, it can be very difficult for a lot of parents, like if I feel that, I would do that. But mom would not be interested in that video game. But mom is still likely to feel, why is my kid wanting to spend more time on a video game than with me? And if that's a feeling, that's a very real feeling. So address that.
Also, there's one more thing. If your child is reading a book, so there is a chance you might go and ask him, "What did you read today? What's the story?" If a child tells you and tells you that I scored 100 runs today, you are likely to ask him that what's the thing? How did you score those runs? So why, when a child wins in a video game, can't you go and ask him? Because they do want to talk about the video game, right? So you should ask the child what in the video game is fun. If you can't play it, you don't need to play it, okay? But you just need to ask about it. That what did you do today? Did you win today? Because my dad and mom sometimes ask me, even though they don't actually give a damn. They just ask me, are you winning? Are you losing? And all that.
We give it little damn.
Yeah.
We don't understand it.
Yeah, we are the people from the time when we played Prince on our PCs, which hardly worked.
I never played. Okay. I think enough we have said about the addiction here.
So it's a very valid point, considering the fact that today that is the situation. Children have a lot of exposure to screen time, be it television, be it games. A lot of children are attending a lot of sessions online, from gym and Zumba and math sessions and a lot of things. So same thing has had happened in our home too. My son is now 9, so he discovered the world of Minecraft and Free Fire. So he used to come back and keep on telling me about it and telling me this happened in the game and that happened in the game. And sometimes it was initially it was nice to hear it, and then after a point of time it was so irritating to listen to the same story, and you're trying to wrap your mind around it, or probably not, because it doesn't make sense to you because you haven't played the game. And even as we try to, it is so mind-boggling. It just does, that Free Fire thing. I've tried to do it. It gives me a headache. I can't do it.
I am very honest there. I simply say, Shahan, this is something that I absolutely don't understand. Please
Don't
leave me out of
understand.
it. I
True.
don't
So I
understand.
did try for trying to understand with the Free Fire and these first person and third person games. It just didn't make sense to me, and eventually I guess the one thing which I'm trying to do is let my son know how it can affect his eyesight probably or not. But yet we haven't come to the stage where we've shut down or limited his screen time. We let him know how he's missing out. Like, he has a younger sister who plays with the neighbor. By the time he finally switches his system off to come and play, they finished playing, so he's missing out on those things. And there are family movie hours he's missing out. So he feels upset later, and then he says, I just don't realize how much time goes on. So we are in the process of helping him, but I don't want to be one of those parents who wants to dictate terms to my child. This is the only hours you can log in, or this is the only. He has learned something very beautiful out of it. So he learned Scratch. Somehow he figured out through YouTube, etc., and he started creating games on Scratch. And we last 20-25 days we had a lot of family over, and some of them were constantly asking me, why is he on the system for so long? So I asked him to show those games, and some of them were very amazed to see him creating small little games, and you could play with. So this is something when we were working, we had to pay for those skills. People who could do even a slightest bit of change on Scratch or the web development part. But he's learning those things on his own. So that's a beautiful thing as well. So what I've realized is you can try and guide them to be careful, be around them, keep a look around on them, but don't distrust them and don't shut things down on them. Children can learn something beautiful, and everything is happening on a computer system these days. You're a banker, you're a home chef sharing your videos on YouTube. Everything is happening online, it's happening on a system. Without it, there's nothing. So by restricting their learning on this mode or medium, it's just we're delaying the exposure and their learning further. So each one has to, as a parent, will have to figure out the balance along with their children. But in today's time, this is the way to go forward, and this is how it's going to be.
That's true.
That's true. Basically, have a dialogue. Basically, sit with your children and have a word. If you're missing them, then tell them that I'm missing you.
True.
It's as simple. I have done it with both my children. That it's like if they have been on the phone for a long time, not playing, just chatting, I'll tell them that I miss you today, and I would like you to keep that phone aside for half an hour and just do nothing with me. Just stare at me, doesn't matter, but talk to me and give me attention. So it is as honest as you can get with your children.
So we are closing to, I mean, we've already crossed 1 hour, but it's such a treat to listen to all of you talk and share. There's one last question let's take that and then we'll get into closing. So is it possible to do homeschooling with a single parent?
It is.
I mean, in a way, I would not be the right candidate to ask because I'm not a single parent. Okay. But if you do understand the homeschooling paradigm, okay, and if you are willing to take that extra step, it is possible. Okay. There is, as homeschoolers, this is the first thing we learn is that there is nothing that is not possible. Okay. If I want to make it happen, I will. So what you will require to do is, as a parent, whichever gender you belong to, you have to be very consciously making that decision that this is what I want to do, and this is how I'm going to create a vision for my child so that the child will get all those developmental opportunities that the child has to go through. Because that is a family that is a little different, but I do know of single parents who are doing homeschooling. So yes, it is possible to do it, provided, because see, again, you're alone there. You don't have your next second spouse. So a lot of things, a lot of decisions that you have to take are anyway, you're shouldering it all alone. So when the child is back at home, occupying the child's attention, giving that right direction, everything comes laden with that kind of decision making. So if you're ready for it, whichever gender spouse, I feel it can be done. We get these questions like working parents can do or not, or a single parent. So my only question to these people is, you never question whether as a single parent I can send my child to school or not. You have it at the back of your traditional mind that school to bhejna hi padega. I will do whatever it takes. That is your thought. You send them to school, you make arrangements for their daycare while you work, or you make arrangements of all varieties. But the moment it is homeschooling, you start questioning. So you're looking at just that 6 hour window when the child is going to be home. Otherwise the child would be home only. The school is only for 6 hours, 7 hours maximum. So as single parent, if you have not questioned the fact that can I meet the ends when my child schools, and can I do all those PTMs and annual days and all those other activities that the school demands, then at homeschooling level also, I don't see, it's a determined parent who can do homeschooling. It's not a single or a double parent. It's a determined parent will be able to do homeschooling.
And certain amount of adjustments you will have to work through to your professional and personal life, I think, before taking that decision.
I just felt this question was very important. It's about, it is, do we need to remind our kids about financial support from parents is up to a certain time, or they get this sense while exploring?
Be honest with your children about what your
Correct.
financial standing is. Okay, very simple. It's like very young. Even before we homeschool, we had told our, at least the elder one, that no matter how brilliant you are, we do not have the financial capacity to put you through any kind of medical studies. That kind of money we don't have. We cannot send you abroad. We can't. We don't encourage you to take any student loan and imprison your life for that many years. We want you to earn through your skills. We want you to enjoy your life, be happy. Whatever you do happy. Satisfaction quotient has to be high. So yes, as a parent, this is what I feel. Don't hide from your children and let them dream about bigger things and then come crashing down when they realize that the parent really cannot fund this. So it's always very important to, and that will teach the children also that prudence, that this is my limit beyond which I'm not supposed to spend. It's not only for education. Let's be honest to the children about everything. So it's not about exposing them and making them vulnerable. It's about being honest about what you can and you cannot do. We talk about boundary a lot. So this is something that you are telling your child that this is where I can afford this but not this, and that honesty goes a very long way in their own financial dealings and transactions. In our case, it became very obvious because they were at home. So when we went to grocery shopping, they knew what we were buying. So there were times when we have told Shahan, keep this back. No, we can't have this. Okay, now of course, when the health is an issue, then we are also able to say that no, this is not something we can buy because this health hazard. So we are very honest, and every honest parent reaps rich dividends. So over to children, like how did they take our financial honesty both ends? Yeah, very quick. Your mind
So I already knew beforehand what I was already told pehle se ki there are certain boundaries with respect to the finances, that these are the things that are not going to be possible. And in a way it's actually necessary, I would say, because the child is not going to know automatically whether or not that exists, right? And it is necessary to for the child to be told that this is there and this is possible, and this is not there and this is not possible, so that that exploration does not go in that direction in the first place. And second, ever since I was 18, after the age of 18, as far as my education is concerned, in learning any kind of course is concerned, after not 18 till 18, after 19, as far as education was concerned, because my parents had encouraged me to earn from an early age, after the age of 19, I was able to fund most of my educational pursuits by myself. So, in fact, I think letting the kid know about that will breed a sense of responsibility. Because at the end of the day, education, we say that, okay, it is a job of the parents to educate the children. But then after a 19 or a 20, it really becomes up to the kid, who is first of all not a kid anymore, to, take that up on themselves, to, go ahead and learn how they want to. After a point of time, the freedom that you give the kid also means that the child has to now have the responsibility to deal with their important aspects of their own life by themselves, be it funding their education, be it paying for the things that they want to do. And does not mean they just start doing the first job they get, but having that sense of responsibility with finances such that they can do things by themselves. So yes, it is necessary for the kid to know about it. And for me, it was a benefit. It bred a sense of responsibility, like I said, to do it from an early age. And I don't mind it or regret it or resent it at all. I feel it is necessary to have that responsibility, because with that responsibility, I've also got a great deal of freedom. So that's a fair trade-off.
From my point of view, children need to learn the value of money from a very really young age, because children take a while to learn that concept. I myself took at least 2 years to grasp the concept that I don't need nonsense stuff. Okay, because for children, it's like, I want this. Why can't I have this? For that, they need to be told the price of tomatoes. For that, they need to understand what every single thing is. You get something, you get a sum of money, and you have to spend that, and you get what you want. Okay, so that is being taught in economics after standard 9th. By then the child is already 40, so that's too late according to me. Right now, go to your child and explain them the concept of money and let them grasp it, because it's going to take a while. It's going to take them at least 1 to 2 years to understand the concept completely.
Yep.
So Shahan, I am your fan. Okay, definitely, Villab. I absolutely love the way you address these topics and the way you have your thoughts. I mean, I really feel we should have a session where you are, answering the questions for all the tweens and homeschooling children for all their, and parents. As parents, we could tell you, यार इसको ये चीज समझा दो जरा सा. So, and absolutely beautiful the way you guys communicate with each other through just looking at each other. I mean, in the entire session, I was having a look with very few words. You guys know how who's taking over and how that kind of rhythm is what is so unique to homeschooling families, is what I feel. Having that kind of connect is an additional gift. Which we found on this route of homeschooling journey. Sonal and her family has been one of are very big contributors on helping us again join this route, and I'm so thankful for that. Sharmila, you want to join it? I could just keep on going on and on about this thing, about how beautiful it's been on this journey of homeschooling and how much we could have ended up missing out on. And I really want to have all of that which you guys already have.
And you will. You will. Trust me, you will. You're doing a very wonderful job and you will.
Thank you so much.
So for me, it is double treat actually today, because I've always been curious about Shanu, and she's been very silent, and she has had a lot going on in her family. And in fact, in the morning, I was like, Shanu, you said that you're going to be doing this session. I didn't see you. You didn't even ask. I organized everything and I don't see you. So I was getting a little worked up. I am highly passionate about these Saturday lives too, which we've been doing for more than a year. And Pardiwala families, I had heard about you first from Muriel, then from Dola and a few others. And I always, and then I followed you on your Facebook page. It was such a joy. It was such a joy. Just viewing some of your work and reading what you post around so many different aspects of life. It helps me also reflect, helps me think about my own journey, and how I goof up and how I stand back again, stand up again, and how we move on as a family too. So thank you so much for coming on our platform and sharing your journey. There probably will be a lot more questions from many of our audience, because we do have a lot of people viewing these sessions later. And I am going to include, a few details, because Sonal, I know you're into counseling and so on. So I will add in your details within the write up. Right now, all your books and those links are already there, so that people can get in touch with you, and maybe be part of the active parenting group too, so that
Absolutely. You're all welcome. All absolutely welcome.
And I really
thank you
look forward
so
to
much.
more
Thank you so
videos,
much for having me.
your family videos where Shahan and Shaheen can be seen acting a little more. So really look forward
Oh,
to more of them. We totally miss them. So please come back and make some more.
okay, sure.
We'll
Definitely.
do that.
Okay.
Okay, bye
Bye bye.
bye.
Bye
Thank you.
bye.
Bye.
Great connecting with you guys.
Yes, thanks a
Bye.
lot. Have a lovely